الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Continue our lessons regarding the explanation of Kitab Sifat al-Salat from the book Bulugu al Maraam by Ahadeeth ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah. And in the previous lesson we discussed concerning matters relating to the way the person go down in sujood, the person, which are the limbs of the body that one should go down first on regarding a sujood. So as we had mentioned in brief regarding that one of the ulama, that they mentioned that regarding this ijma, that the person is allowed to either go down on his knees or his hands, but they differ as to which is the more preferred thing to be done. Is it the hands or is it the knees? They divide regarding this into three different opinions. The first view, all that, is prefer the person go down first on his knees. The second view, on his hands. And the third view, that is mukhayyar, that a person can do whichever he wishes. So we also discussed concerning most of the hadith that discusses that particular matter, that most of the hadith are under discussion regarding their authenticity. What you find from the Salaf, as we had mentioned, regarding them doing it various ways. So with that, then we go to the next matter that is discussed in those series of hadith regarding Sifat al-Salat, in the bab of Kitab al-Salat. So the next hadith to be discussed is the hadith
Ibn
Umar.
Narrated Ibn Umar radiyallahu an, when Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sat for at-Tashahhud, he placed his left hand on his left knee and his right hand on his right knee, folded his fingers and pointed with his right index finger. Reported by Muslim.
Riwayah.
In another narration of Muslim, and he clenched all his right hand fingers and pointed with the index finger.
So that particular hadith of Ibn Umar ta'ala regarding of those matters pertaining to Salat. And this hadith that is mentioned here by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah of Ibn Umar is regarding Sifatul Yadayn in Hal al-Sujud, or Hal al-Julus fi Tashahhud, that how the person is to place his hands while he's in the Tashahhud position. So how the person where the person to place his hands regarding being in the position of Tashahhud, that is in the sitting position in the Salah. So this hadith has discussed those matters. So after the hadith that is mentioned, the first hadith concerned that Ibn Umar أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا قعد للتشهد وضع يده اليسرى على ركبتيه اليسرى. So the hadith general mention regarding the Prophet ﷺ, that when he was sat in the tashahhud position, that he places right hands on his knees and also the left on the knees. Then also he mentioned regarding also the right hand, that you will form or make a particular, it would be formed in a particular way to be discussed. So that's concerning that particular hadith. And then other narration mentioned that qabada asabiyahu kullu, that he can somewhat folded all his hands. So that's concerning that the Prophet ﷺ, that he sat in a particular way. And this becomes an act of ta'abbud regarding in the salat, by him sitting in this particular way and doing also all the time, sitting in that way all the time. Then informs that this is the way that one should sit in the salat, and it forms a part of those acts regarding salah. And this is of the reason why the author rahimahullah Ibn Hajar has mentioned this particular hadith. So a person doesn't sit as he wishes in the tashahhud position, but he needs to sit in a particular way, and this way is described in this particular hadith. As for this hadith, that of the masahil that it discusses, that the ulama are in an ijma, as mentioned by An-Nawawi rahimahullah, mentioned by Hafiz An-Nawawi rahimahullah in his Sharh of Sahih Muslim, that he mentioned ijma al-ulama ala istihbab wad'uha inda ar-rukba or ala rukba, that regarding the hands, where they are to be placed in the tashahhud position, that they should be on the rukba, which is the knees, and that's agreed upon between the ulama. So So it can be placed underneath, like for example, I'm sitting, so it can be placed underneath like this, right above it, or it can be like this way. As to be explained to the hands regarding where to be placed underneath. So it can be underneath down to this level, or it can be just right above, as some of those narrations are mentioned in this particular hadith. So that's concerning, so the ulama, so that's concerning those two positions regarding where the hands are placed on the knees, either right, we said right above, or on the resting on the knee itself. Now, so that's the two positions regarding what is mentioned. Then the next matter which is discussed is regarding asabi, the person concerning his fingers. How the person is to place his fingers. So the one concerning the hands generally, it is placed as we described. Then the next matter regarding his fingers, how they are to be formed, or which position they have to be placed while he's in this position of tashahhud. We'll discuss that. Will be a separate matter to be discussed due to certain details to be mentioned. So other matters that are mentioned also is regarding the person in the tashahhud position. That I mentioned that the hadith concerning that of Ibn Umar, it mentioned that Ahada Thalatha wa Khamseen. So it's a way that Arab they use concerning numbers regarding how to place your hand in certain position, or to form certain position with the hand. They sometimes use number system. Now, but to be described. Then he mentioned, Ashar, he mentioned, wa ashara bi asbih, and also he pointed his finger. Now, so he mentioned two things, that some of the fingers to be folded a particular way, but also for one of his finger, he mentioned, and I did mention, specify, mentioned sababa. He specified concerning sababa. So this is sababa. This is the one that is used, I would say, the finger of tashahhud. Now, so they mentioned that the sababa, that this one is to be pointed. Now, regarding the position of the fingers, we'll now go into some detail. One of the things that he mentioned, that the general thing is that it is to be pointed. The sababa, this one. As for the left hand side, this is only related to the right hand. So the left hand is out, is opened. Now, stretch out. This one then it is to be folded. Now, and after those positions regarding that, he mentioned the hadith that it is to be folded, some of the fingers a particular way. But as for the sababa, this finger, it is to be pointed. Now, after matters they discussed are mentioned, if a person, for whatever reason, that he doesn't have a sababa, that finger is there, then that rule doesn't apply to him. So the person, for example, he lost all his fingers, or just this one, then there's no pointing for him, because it's not there, and he doesn't try to use another finger to substitute for it. Now, so the pointed only restricted to one finger, which is the sababa, this finger. If the person is without it, then the rule doesn't apply to him. Now, also regarding, that's another matter regarding this with the hadith, doesn't mention, but also that ulama also mentioned that regarding in this position of the tashahhud, now the person sitting, so the hands, for example, is like this, the fingers are like this. Now, the person is focused, his eyes should be pointed towards or focus on his finger. So he'd be looking at his finger. Now, based upon some narration of the hadith regarding that the person, as mentioned, some of the narration of the hadith concerning the person, that in the Nasahi or Abu Dawood when Nasahi, that it mentioned regarding the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubair in the Abu Dawood when Nasahi وغيرهما and others were mentioned فيه وأشار بالسبابة, that he points his finger ولا يتجاوز بصره إشارته, that his finger is like it is focused on his finger. It's someone, his eyes is focused on his finger. Now, other narration, ulama mentioned that's not based upon general hadith, that the person before, that the person generally in salat, his eyes, when he's in the qiyam, when he's in ruku and other position, that generally is focused on the place of his sujood. So when he's in a standing position or in ruku, his general focus is the place of his sujood. Except in this position. So we mentioned before, when a person's in ruku, he doesn't per se look at his feet. His eyes focus, that's not to be done, but rather the person's eyes, it should be focusing on the place of his sujood. So in this position of tashahhud, the focus now is under the finger.
So what does the word sababa, is that the finger or the action of pointing?
The finger. Sababa is the finger.
Index finger.
Ashara, index finger. Index finger. So that's sababa. As ishara is being like pointed. So the general thing now is the eyes are focused on the finger, index finger, or with some of the ulama, he still can focus on the place of his sujood. With some of the ulama, he can still, so he has like a choice. The better of them is the sababa, as in this hadith, specify that this to be done under the index finger. The general ones, some still apply that he can still apply the general thing of focusing on his place of sujood. But in this position, the hadith, we see more clear that the preferred thing is that to look at his finger. So the next matter now, which goes into more depth, into more detail, is the matter regarding, we said, the finger and the movement of the finger, or the pointing of. So the hadith that is in clearly mentioned with the hadith in Sahih Muslim, it clearly specifies regarding what? Pointing of the finger. Some narration, the discussion now, that between some of the ulama is regarding is the finger, index finger, is it to be moved or just stay still? So is it permissible or the person to move it or not? Is it to be moved or not to be moved? Now, what's the position? What's the general practice?
Both are allowed.
What's the general practice though? What's the general practice? Amongst, we said, the Salafi community.
To move it.
To move it, why? Sibatu Salat.
Yeah. Sheikh Hassan.
Hey, Sibatu Salat. Now, so I find amongst the Salafi community in the West, I'm going to say in England in particular, maybe by extension in the West, meaning the West concerning America, Canada, Canada, and those places in the West, they find that instead, because Sibatu Salat is a book that, in the Salafi community, the book that generally everyone uses it as the standard book regarding how to pray. Now, we said there's that general thing that, yes, Sheikh Al-Albani rahimahullah, that book is of, Sifatu Salat is 3 of them that he wrote. He has Al-Kabir, is in 3 volumes. The original one, the Asl of Sifatu Salat, is in 3 volumes. And is in print. But it came out, I think, after the death of the Sheikh rahimahullah, or right before his death. But it's in 3 volumes. So the one that we have in English, the translated one, and there's 2 translated versions. The old one, which was by Usama Hassan. I said that, and they have a new one of recent. Leave the old one because of that person, because of his inhiraf. And more, but if the person have it, no problem. But the newer version, the new translation, then that one is given precedent. But that book, Genesis of Salat of Sheikh Al-Albani, is the one that everyone. So that's the one that we have in English. That's the medium size. Then you have a smaller one after this. So there's 3 of them. Then you have a talkhis of the one which is the one that is in print. So the one that is in print, then there's a summary of it.
Talkhis means summary?
Talkhis means a summary. So you get a talkhis of that one. So remove all the aqwal, and that's restrict to maybe to 1 hadith for each discussion. Then after Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, then you find that book of Sifat Salat, then you find those who have university degree have been awarded just for that book. So a person did his PhD thesis around that book. Now, we're more so checking the hadith, because Shaykh Al-Albani he mentioned the hadith, but he doesn't mention the Sahabi in most cases. When I was a student of Shaykh Muqbil, he did a book on Sifat Salat where he brought forth the hadith with the Sahabi. Shaykh Al-Albani doesn't mention the Sahabi in his narrations. So he did this. And also mentioned some other matter which is hadithiyah regarding that some hadith where Shaykh Al-Albani may ought to be authentic, where it's on the discussion. Clear? But many works, Shaykh Ahmed Sheikh Muhammad Bazmour have an explanation of that book. Or some like a brief explanation of the book of Sheikh Albani. We mentioned maybe in some masail with a khilaf between or difference of opinion regarding that particular masala. So you have many works and others. And other works that have been done حول صفة الصلاة. So that this matter, which from you have those people have gone overboard regarding tahriq, meaning of those of the Ahnaf, because of them concern a person pointing and moving, they see that's something not to be done. Is it a matter of the Ahnaf, then that is something else. But some of the people are said to be of that way inclined, that if they see you moving your finger at the Shafi'iyah and them in Hind, I'd like there was a battle between them, war between them. With me? So, for example, the Ahnaf will all, if a Shafi should not marry a Hanafi woman. If he was to do so, a Shafi was to marry a Hanafi woman or vice versa, they see it as الزواج بين أهل الكتاب, which is Allah Mustan. It's like marrying أهل الكتاب. You understand? So that's a level of a taqleed of a madhab, of our person or in our personality. Imam Malik, Imam Shafi is free from this. But their followers that came after became a problem, or some of their followers who came after became a problem. And they still continue till today. Even though the aqwal of those a'imma that free themselves from this type of ta'assub toward themselves, but they are followers who do not follow their instructions and gone overboard. So regarding tahriq, concerning a matter which is ilmiya, a knowledge-based matter, hadithiyya, fiqhiyya, is a part of the acts of the salat. Should one move one finger or not? That's our discussion. Now, we said most Salafi in the West may move his finger. May, you see him, and they, whatever way, what you see, some movements. Now, so the matter now, we'll discuss it. من العلماء regarding the movement of the finger, regarding the hadith that it is used, the hadith of that they use, they consider the hadith of Wahil ibn Hujr. Wahil ibn Hujr Ta'ala anhu.
Is it the same Wahil from the previous hadith?
The same hadith, because he has many hadith, he has several hadith regarding Sifatul Salat. So in one of the narrations of the hadith regarding this particular matter, in one of the narrations mentioned in his hadith regarding this mention, ثم رفع أصبعه أصبعه فرأيته يحركها يدعو بها. So he said in hadith of I saw him that he raised it, meaning his finger, أصبع, raised his finger. فرأيته يحركها, and I saw him that he was moving it. So it was being moved. يدعو بها, and he was supplicating or calling by it, or calling to it. But the Shahid mentioned what? يحرك, رف ويحرك. And that's the hadith of Zahid, and that hadith is in the Bayhaqi. That hadith, that narration is in the Sunan al-Bayhaqi and others. Based upon this, some of the ulama take the position that one should move the finger, because the hadith, some narration mention this moving of the finger. This narration of Wahid ibn Hujr, it mentioned moving of the finger and raising the finger. But then there's a discussion regarding this hadith. Is it authentic, that part of the hadith, or not? Is that portion of the hadith authentic or not? Wahil, the hadith, Wahil is the Sahabi. Of others of the narration on him, that goes back, you have a person, the hadith, his name is Zaida ibn Qudama. One of the narrators in the hadith, his name is Zaida ibn Qudama. Zaida ibn Qudama. Yeah, forever, that's that. But one of the narrators is Zaida ibn Qudama. Who narrated an Asim ibn Kulayb. Asim ibn Qulayb. So Asim is the Sheikh. Zaida narrate on him until the end of the hadith. Type. Is there a pen? Marker. Make it much more clear what's being said. I wonder if we can use it. Can use this, huh? Hopefully.
Explain easily.
Okay. So that's the hadith. That's a sahabi. The brothers they can because I'm writing fast, so it looks a bit. Found something? Okay, found a lot.
I know you're going to do different colours in it.
So that's the hadith that we have in concern. The hadith more concerning the movement of the finger, which is the index finger, type that we're discussing. So the hadith that mentioned this, the movement of the finger, the hadith of Wahil ibn Hujjar, as we mentioned here. The hadith of Wahil. Now, after the narrators, we mentioned who's whom?
Zaid ibn
Zaida ibn Qudama. And he narrates an Asim ibn Qulayb. Nam. So he's the Sheikh and that's the Talmid, that's the student narrating on him. But Zahid is the only one of those who narrate and Asim who mention this additional thing regarding movement of the finger. So you have many people, so Asim ibn Qulayb, you have many other students, you have a bunch of students. Nam, but amongst the students, the group of students, Nam, the only one, all that mentioned the same thing, but Zahid had something additional that he mentioned, that others did not mention, and that movement of the finger. Clear? Nasruddin, with me?
Yeah, so Asim is
a sheikh.
Yeah.
And Zaida
is,
narrates on him.
And he's the only person that's saying.
Yeah, and so of a group of them,
from the group, he's
the only one that mentions about moving the finger. Everyone else does not mention it.
Does he mention how?
That was as we mentioned the hadith, that he said raise the finger and move it.
So up and down.
Yeah, so that's the main thing that he mentioned about moving the finger. With me? So he said that you have a group of them, narrators, students, narrating on their teacher Asim, but of the group, only one of them, of that group, mentioned something that the others did not mention. Now, so the question is he, that additional thing mentioned, it is something which is, did he actually hear it from the Sheikh? Or is it an error from his part? Or is he actually saying something that he heard but for some reason others didn't mention it? Now, so in Ilm al-Hadith, that's the science itself. One of the science of Ilm al-Hadith and one of the more precise of Ilm al-Hadith. And under some discussion, or a lot of discussion regarding cases we recall. So Zahida also is a person who's thicker. So not just anyone, he's a person who's thicker. Nam. So we're going to some. So thicker, al-Thabt. Shadid, they said Zahid when they described this person Zahid. Nam. And the other people, they mention over 10 other people, so over 10 other people, Nam, mentioned the same hadith and didn't mention the movement of the fingers, except for Zaida. With me? So,
without going into the 10 other people, their names are there, the names are
yeah, they know their name, that's not a problem. With them, their names are known.
Okay.
That's not a problem. So everyone is known. Like one step at a time. Now, so I said the focus is on Zaida because he came with something which is addition to what the other 10 mentioned. So they are known. They're not the problem, because all them saying the same thing. Also, they are thiqatun asbat. Their people are known to be thiqat, of the highest level. Now, and also, thabit is thiqatun thabt. That's like when the ulama of hadith, they have different degree of a person. When they say they use double like description, you're a thiqah, that's good. When you're thiqatun thabt, then that's using two description. That means you're higher level. Thiqatun hafiz. You with me? So there are people on different degrees and rank regarding their level of being reliable.
Who's the one that's thiqatun thabt?
No. Thabit Za'ida is one of those thiqatun thabt. He's a person at the highest level. He's of the people who are known to be of the thiqat. And he's very precise. But also the other 10 are the same thing. The other 10 are the same thing. With me? But we said the discussion is not about them, it's more with Za'ida, because he came with something additional. The ulama of hadith, within the science of hadith, one of the discussion of hadith is regarding what they discuss. Ziyaratun thiqat. Ziyarat al-thiqat. A personal thiqah who might add something that others didn't mention. They call it ziyarat al-thiqat. A person who's, or ziyarat al-rawat. So sometimes a person may be weak and have the additional, then that's dismissed, because he's weak. With me? The problem now of more of area to be looked into and studied more carefully is when a person who's said to be thiqah and he mentioned something that others of his contemporaries, now colleagues, are not mentioning, but himself is a credible person. In general, him by himself is a credible person, but he's saying something that amongst his other colleagues, he's now saying what they're not saying. Is this ziyarat al-thiqat? Is it something to accept or something not to accept? Because he's going against the grain of everyone. With me? So in that case, because he's thiqah, should we accept it because he's thiqah? So we need to know, he may have memorized what they didn't memorize. He mentioned something addition to what they didn't memorize. Perhaps. Or the other way, did he actually make an error and said something that is actually an error, not something which is actually a part of the hadith or what he heard from his sheikh. With me? Yunus?
Yeah.
Type, focus on this, then write later. Now, so that's what the because of now. So the thing is now within the science of hadith, that's one of the areas. For example, it's called Musal hadith. Now, or concerning studying, for example, in every science.
Mustalah hadith is it?
Yeah, Mustalah hadith, as the people call it today, but it's Ulum al hadith. Studying the rules and principles of hadith. Now, to can grade a hadith, to say hadith is authentic or not, then you have to have studied its science. That is called ilm ulum al-hadith or ilm al-mustal al-hadith. Now, so within that science, there is a chapter that is discussed. A person who is a thiqah, who mentioned something that others who are thiqat did not mention. Is this information to be accepted as reliable, or is it something to be dismissed? As he has made, even though it's reliable, he has made an error because he's contradicting others. So it's actually a contradiction, opposing others, or he's actually saying something they didn't say. And he's more accurate. He has caught something they missed. Which is it? Clear? Clear?
Yeah.
Who can repeat what or should I repeat again?
One more time.
Okay, one more time. Within narrators, within Ibn al-Hadith, we said of the more precise area, we'll find certain cases where, for example, this one, and we have other ones, we did other cases mentioned before, we didn't go into this detail. Now, so I said at this point, the hadith of Wa'il ibn Ujr, regarding movement of finger, all the most of the narrations, now, that are authentic in a Sahih Muslim, it doesn't mention about the point of the finger, but it didn't mention moving the finger. Imam Muslim, the one that we read, it mentioned what? Pointing the finger the index finger but not moving it. We have another narration, and that's the hadith of Ibn Umar, that mention, yes, pointing the finger but without moving. So everyone agree upon that. Now we have another narration regarding that position of how the hand is to be positioned or placed in Tashahhud. Of another, some narration, it mentioned raising the hadith of, we mentioned, Wa'il al-Ujr. A part of the hadith mentioned raising the finger but also moving it. وَيَدْهُ بِهَا, and to supplicate and to be distracted. So the main point for us, this moving and moving the finger, is this a part of the hadith or not? And the hadith is in the we mentioned Bayhaqi with another narrators or another compiler of the Sunnah. Now, so when the ulama of hadith look at the hadith, they notice that the hadith of Wa'il al-Ujr, all the narration that of Asim, of over 10 students that narrates on him this hadith. Now, over 10. 10 of them does not mention moving the finger.
So is this what's under discussion?
Yes, so now, and then one of them mention moving the finger. So a person looking at the hadith is discussing, is moving the finger is an additional information, something addition to what everyone else is saying. While he's saying it, but also he have extended and went beyond. With me? So he agreed what everyone is saying, which is to point the finger, but then when he mentions something additional, which is moving it. Others are not saying this. Why did you say it? With me? So the investigation now is to look at, did an error occur or not? Or is this something we should accept or not? Because now this additional information may be deemed to be you're going against everyone else. Did you receive or memorize something that they did that they missed, or you actually come with this information actually an error on your part? So it could go both ways. You could be right or you could be in an error. With me? So it needs to be looked into, because hadith is to see, is that the purpose is to investigate these cases. A part of studying hadith, investigate cases like these.
So now we get to the part where we have to apply some tools to work out.
Yes, so now the science of hadith now come into play. The person will have to be of the know hadith to know what to be done now. To work out, to come to a final conclusion. With me? So this part of this masala, it goes into what we call ziyadatul thiqat.
The extra information.
Information which is sometimes it's always ziyadatul thiqat, but sometimes ziyad could be from even a person who's da'if. So ziyadat in the hadith. It goes under ziyadat fil ahadith. Ziyadat comes in a hadith. Sometimes the person who come with additional information could be a person who's weak. But that's normally dismissed because you're weak. You yourself don't stand and carry much weight. So you come with something additional from other people, then even more we're going to reject you and the information. So that doesn't hold much. The contention now comes and more research is required when the person is a what? Thiqat. A person generally is a narration is acceptable. Now, so in this case we said that because there are other people, we have two sides, some and one. 10 people against one person. Who's right? Or is anyone wrong? So that's now we come. So that's another way kind of a general thing concerning ziyadat thiqat. The ulama disagree regarding how to approach it. Is in everything a person who's considered to be thiqat, everything that he says that is addition to what others may say is to be accepted? Some say yes. The fact that you are thiqat, so we have 6 of us in the room, right? 5 of us, all of us is saying something, but one of us exceeded what the other 5 have said. With me? We have 6 of us in the room, all of us saying one thing. We walk to the town center. The next one said we went into Sainsbury. With me? So the one person who went into Sainsbury, everyone said we did went to the town centre. But he said we went into Sainsbury. With me? So is he saying reporting is correct or not? Some say because he's sikat, then him saying that we went into Sainsbury, then we accept that because he himself is a sikat, a credible person. With me? So he's just adding what the others didn't say. Because he himself can stand on his own ground, then we accept his statement, as even though it is something additional to what the others are saying. With me? Then others said, no, the opposite. The fact that he is challenging the others, or going against the others, the grain of the others, well, we don't accept his narration. With me? Because he's coming with something different, or seems to be adding what the others did not mention, so why should we accept it? So they said, leave him, reject it. And others said, no. Each case is looked based upon, each case is studied by itself. And in some case, you may accept that additional information, and in some cases, you may reject it. But each case is based upon a case-by-case study, not a general blanket rule.
So can't they go back to the sheikh?
Which sheikh?
Their teacher.
That's just it. We're talking about most of the time in this case, those people have died. That's why we have a discussion. You get me?
Yeah.
We're looking for what is in the books. Now, after those things have been recorded, everything recorded now, trying to now see how everything now fall in line. With me?
Yeah.
So now, so going back to the sheikh and those people, that's those time have passed.
Is this the chain of narration to the rest of the
Yeah, this is the chain. We're talking about the hadith with the chain.
Yes.
So one other person, the chain, we mentioned the hadith, there's a certain condition. Now, I'll mention 5 things. Ittisal al-sanad, that everyone is in place. Thiqat, wal-adalat al-rawat, that everyone is credible and everyone is precise in their memory, adopt. And the third, we mentioned Adam al-shudud wa Adam al-illa. So we're talking about a few of these. This hadith goes into a few of those things, few of those points regarding what we decided hadith, discussing few of those points. That word could be thiqat, but in some thiqat doesn't mean that you can't make errors. You're infallible. It doesn't mean this. No one is of a level where he doesn't make mistake at all. No one is like this. Meaning from normal human beings, exemption of anbiya regarding al-balagh al-risala. With me? So every those cases we have additional information of the approaches. It is to be studied by a case-by-case approach. Some cases, that additional information by the thiqat may be acceptable. And in some cases may be rejected based upon studying that particular case. So not a blanket rule that is followed. Every case yes, and every case no. That's not the case. Each case is studied individually, and you come to your conclusion based upon the factors related to that particular case. Because sometimes it could be, you may give precedent to the other case based upon that those other narrations, they all also, they are similar to you or above you. And they are greater in number. With me, they may have more mulazima, they are more closer to the sheikh. They are with him for 10 years, you're with the sheikh for 2 years. You understand? So each case is looked upon separately, individually, not a blanket rule. Clear? Is that now clear? Somewhat. It'll come back, it'll come one day.
No, it's clear.
Yeah.
Naam? So that matter, so at the end of the study, so that every alim who specializes the hadith will do their own individual study on this hadith and come with their own conclusion. They may coincide with someone before them, meaning concerning people of our contemporary time, they have to do their own separate research. He may agree with others who precede him, and he may disagree with others, but he has to do his own research and come to his own conclusion based upon following rules and guidelines. Now, so I mentioned regarding this particular hadith that you have Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, or the hadith to be the man concerning, those are hadiths concerning the movement of the finger as being authentic or authenticate this. Now, you have
Ibn Qayyim.
Ibn Qayyim ordered to be authentic. of them Sheikh Albani, and they mention Sani' Imam Al Bayhaqi. So it seems as if also Bayhaqi, all that is authentic, this narration of Wahid ibn Hujr that mentioned moving of the finger. And others hold the hadith not to be authentic.
Or that part of the hadith.
And that particular part,
The first part's agreed upon, a point.
this part is the part, the other bits of the hadith, the main part regarding this is the part that is under discussion. They mentioned it on Imam Muslim ibn Khuzaymah. Imam Muslim, based upon his action, that he never narrated, so it seems as if that he owed it not to be authentic, but there's a lengthy discussion regarding Sheikh Muqbil and of his students. Sheikh Albani and his students owed it to be valid. And also, Sheikh bin Baz also owed the hadith to be authentic. This is ziyada regarding movements of the finger. So of contemporary times, Sheikh bin Baz, Sheikh Albani in the same camp of authenticity is authentic, but Sheikh Muqbil and the likes do not hold it to be authentic.
Imam Muslim as well.
A Muslim, as I mentioned, he didn't mention this narration. He mentioned a full hadith, but never mentioned this.
The extra.
And also Ibn Khuzaymah, he also concerning any hadith regarding the movement of the finger, they're all da'if. Ibn Khuzaymah mentioned movement of the finger in any narration is all weak. So Allahu A'lam, and you have books have been written specifically about this in concerning the Tulab al-Ilm. I've written big books just about this.
That was not asked 5 or 10 minutes ago. We don't say it's impossible, but what's the likelihood of contemporary muhaddith uncovering information that may have passed some of the historical researchers in muhaddith?
Not much.
That's what I thought the answer was going to be.
So that's concerning that hadith. So I said the movement of the finger, there's that discussion type of thing. And Allahu A'lam, personally, I used to all concerning move the finger used to be authentic based upon what I read then. But after a while, after reading up and looking over the matter, then my view changed. So personally, I don't do it because I don't believe the hadith is authentic. That ziyada, it says ziyada thiqat, but in this case it is not acceptable based upon various reasons that all the narrators, you understand, but that's my personal conclusion. Look at the book, you have contemporaries, Tulab from Sheikh Muqbil camp, from Sheikh Albani, who have written on this topic, but looking at their works, that my personal view that hadith is not authentic. Regarding movement of the finger. So the person can, without moving, point, but without moving. So that's concerning that particular matter. We'll say, Sheikh, a person who does it, then I don't see the person doing something with a bidah, or something which doesn't understand, because you have ulama with him, the person is thiqat, but myself, my conclusion, based on that I'm more in line toward those who hold the view that is not authentic.
So a related question, we see some of the people, they get to a point in the dhikr where they just raise their finger.
To come, that's a part of the discussion. Also another narration regarding moving the finger, so we have moving. Another narration of hadith. So that's the first view, held by some of the ulama. So you have some of the ulama who all concerning that moving of the finger based upon that narration is something of the sunnah to be done. That moving of the finger is to be done. They mentioned
Is there any wisdom behind moving the finger? Is there anything mentioned?
That I mentioned regarding concerns, it's become like a hadith, like something, a surah against the shaitan. So you have some mention about the Pope, but not per se moving, but having the finger up.
Okay.
As like a short, as some mention some of the Salah from the Sahaba, regarding like a surah against the shaitan.
Okay.
Wow.
The view of Imam Shafi'i as well. To me.
So the Shafi'i. So you have so when mentioning concerning regarding concerning بعض أهل العلم أو ذهب بعض أهل العلم إلى تحريك الإصبع, that the movement of the finger, yes, the hadith of Wa'il ibn Hujr that we mentioned, that we had mentioned, then we mentioned the second view. Of those that of that view, بعض الشافعية regarding moving the finger, regarding that مشروعية, the permissibility to move the fingers in the Salah. You have some of the Shafi'iyya, some of the Hanabila, and some of the Malikiyya. And that's the view that is taken by Ibn Qayyim, Albani, of contemporary, Shaykh bin Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen.
That's authentic.
Yeah, concerning that all the permissibility of moving the finger in the Salah, in the part of Tashahhud. Ibn Uthaymeen of contemporary, Shaykh Albani, Ibn Baz, and Ibn Uthaymeen. And they use concerning the hadith of Zayd ibn Hujr. And they have other things they and Sunday, but as their general view.
So the main contemporary scholars of our time say
the top ones have said yes.
Fawzan says to keep it straight, I think. Sheikh Fawzan says to keep it
pointed.
Okay. The next view, the second view, is regarding Adam tahriq, that the person not to move the finger. As they all concern that hadith regarding that is not authentic. But they all concern pointing yes, but not to move. Pointing yes, but not to move. So the old person point the finger, but do not move the finger. And as for the view that's in the move the finger, they themselves disagree how to move the finger. Regarding the ones who say moving it, they themselves, as to how to move it, then that's a question between themselves. So the other view, the second view, Adam al-Tahriq, not to move the finger. And
So Sheikh, looking into this, would you say this is more, let's say if we wanted to do our own investigation, is it more looking into the fiqh of the action, or is it more looking into the hadiths?
Yeah, the hadith first. In this case, the hadith take precedent. Is first study the hadith, because that will, from there, everything will be decided. If it is authentic, then yes. If it is not, then no. So everything goes back first to the hadith. So I mentioned concerning Aksar al-Ilm, the majority of the ulama, that they all concern a person not moving the finger. Majority of the ulama, all while in Tashahhud, that the person points, but without moving the finger. That has been authenticating concerning narration regarding pointing the finger. Then also, the hadith of Ibn Umar in Sahih Muslim, then also they have another hadith regarding, and some other person should not move the finger at all, based upon a narration of Ibn Zubayr, of the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Based upon, they have another narration they use, that says the person should not move the finger, that the Prophet that the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr and the Nabi Islam, كان يشير بأصبعه إذا دعا ولا يحرك. وَلَا يَحَرِّكُهَا. I mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, another narration in the Abu Dawood wa Nasa'i. Another narration in the Abu Dawood wa Nasa'i. From the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr anhu, that he mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, كان يشير, that he used to point with his finger. فَإِذَا دَعَى لَا يَحَرِّكُهَا. And when he supplicated, he did not move it. He mentioned this time, لَا يَحَرِّكُهَا. He did not move it. So the hadith is now doing opposite from the hadith of Wahil. This hadith is saying you should not, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr, not to move the finger. Point, but do not move it. So the ones who say don't move it, they are more, they use this as their dalil. But both sides agree upon pointing, but they disagree regarding moving. But as for this narration regarding Abdullah ibn Zubayr, also that particular hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr, that of the ulama, this hadith also is on the discussion. The hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr about not moving the finger is on the discussion. Meaning that some of the ulama authenticate that hadith. Of the ulama who want the hadith to be authentic, and Nawawi in his book Majmu', and also Ibn Mulaqin.
That's the hadith of not to move it at all.
Hey, about the one not to move. I said, after the name we mentioned Nawawi and Ibn Mulaqin, of the ulama who authenticate that hadith.
Imam Nawawi
and Ibn Mulaqin. He has many books. Ibn Mulaqin of those ulama have many books. But for some reason, not as known as others. He has of concern that, books concerning, he has many works, important works.
They said it was authentic.
Huh?
They said it was authentic. Nawawi and Ibn Mulaqin. They said it was authentic.
Yeah, because Ibn Mulaqin rahimahullah, he went to the books of the because he's Shafi'i. Went to the book of some of the main Shafi'i ulama, and he took out all their hadith from that book in fiqh, all their hadith in fiqh, right? And then he went through and checked all of them, all those hadiths. Just as Shaykh Albani have done with Hanabila. So you find some of the ulama what they did, Ibn Hajar have done it. But also his book is a talkhis of the book of Ibn Mulaqin. So Ibn Mulaqin went to a book in fiqh, of the main book of fiqh of the Shafi'iyah, that mentioned Adillah. And he took out all their hadith by hadith, bab by bab, chapter by chapter. Then he started to check these hadith, are they authentic or not? You with me? So for each madhab you have a book like that. That will go to a main book in each madhab of the four madhahib, and will somewhat check their hadith and give an idea, are these hadith authentic or not? You with me? So you have books of that nature, or of that type. So that inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop here with that and then make salat. So in continuing concerning discussion regarding, so we have reached concerning that the hadith of Wahid ibn Hujr regarding moving the finger. Then we mentioned there's some discussion and the kalam of the ulama regarding that. The second set of hadith regarding those who hold that, and that's view regarding the hadith of Wahid, is the hadith that is used regarding those who take the position that the person should move his finger. Now, as we said, between themselves, a discussion regarding when to start moving the finger and how to go about moving the finger. Now, so between that school, but majority of the person that regarding that school of thought, that regarding the person start from the end to the tashahhud until he ends. Now, so that's that school as to the fast, then this way, that way. You understand?
This way.
Yeah, they have to bring, you understand, other additional delil regarding the way in which it's to be done. So, but Shaykh Albani, I think, somewhat covers some of those things based upon that view that they have taken. But I would mention that, but that's the view that they have taken, that view. The second view is that it is not something to be done. Point, yes, but without moving the finger. And if the evidence that you can say about that person is not to point, they use concerns to know that hadith is on a discussion, plus also added to that, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr, that mention a person stipulate directly not to move the finger.
We were going to ask about Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Did he say he saw this directly from the Prophet?
He says so. Yeah, that's what he said from the hadith.
So he's not narrating from no one.
Based on the hadith, what's the hadith? We said Abdullah ibn Zubayr, they are the a hadith who consists of not just one person. So you have him being the Sahabi, that's the top of the hadith, the head of the hadith. But below will be a bunch of other people. You understand?
Students of the
Their students coming down. So the isnad, sometime about, 5 thulathiyat, rubaiyat. You have, sometimes 3 people. This, you understand? Sometimes 5, could be 7, could be much more. You understand? But most cases, when we said the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr, what he saw, that's the person who's the last person before the Prophet, or the first person after the Prophet that narrate a hadith, but you have other people behind him. The Sahabi are never usually discussed regarding their level of credibility. It's the people behind them. You understand? So the problem with the hadith is normal person, the Sahabi is usually people after them. We don't normally question the ulama of hadith, don't question the adad of the companions.
No, that wasn't my point.
Huh?
That wasn't my point. My point was this was directly from Abdullah ibn Zubayr.
Yeah, he saw it from what he narrated, from what the hadith mentions.
So the collection of this hadith is from other people in the chain come down to whoever's collected it.
Hey, so the discussion wouldn't be per se Abdullah Zubayr, it would be other people.
There could be a problem in that chain. We're not saying there is, but hypothetically there could be a problem in that chain.
Yeah, was it hypothetical? There's a problem in the chain.
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's to come.
Hey, so I said, some people said, based upon as I said, the hadith is on the discussion of Abdullah Zubayr that mentioned not to move the finger. So his hadith mentioned in this case, stipulate not to move the finger. So he said point, but also not to move it. The hadith of Wa'il said to point and move it.
the opposite.
The opposite. You understand? So that there seem to be at clashing. You understand? So the hadith now of Wa'il, we discussed that through. Now the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr is the one we're discussing. That mentioned point but do not move when you're supplicating, meaning the tashahhud. So that hadith now said is under discussion from amongst the ulama who authenticate that hadith is 2 we mentioned. From the ulama we mentioned Nawawi and Ibn Mulaqin. Then you have others who are all the hadith to be weak. So you have others who have criticized that hadith and all the hadith to be weak. That yes, the hadith actually weak. Okay, so you have some different discussion about the outside hadith is somewhat you have some discussion and even the hadith of Wa'il, so we have even Bayhaqi's hadith of Wa'il ibn Fihi, and that hadith we call is the hadith of Wa'il we call the hadith with the shuzuz. There's shuzuz in it, meaning a person who is credible, conflicting or going against other people who are credible.
Shuzuz.
They call it shuzuz or shadh, hadith of shadh or shuzuz, meaning a person who is credible, conflicting, opposing those who are equally credible or more credible or greater number or whatever the reason may be in that particular case. So after the hadith we mentioned here, that the hadith of Abu Dawood regarding so that's the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zubayr that said not to move the finger, that in it there's al-inqita, there's a breakage, and also other narrators who's on the question, other narrators who individual themselves were on the question, and also between some of the individuals that they actually didn't meet each other, didn't hear from each other. So that hadith, Ibn Qayyim and Shaykh Albani, they all the hadith to be da'if. So Albani discussed that the hadith is da'if, that stipulated the person which will be conflicting with his view, that to move, so the hadith that says not to move, he all the hadith to be da'if based upon yes, a valid reason, and also Ibn Qayyim, they all the hadith that says not to move the finger to be weak, and they go with the hadith that says to move the finger. So that's concerned that particular masala. They also tell they have a next view that they ought not to move or not even to point. Or another view that concerns a person that another view concerning a person not moving, but they go to extreme that they'll fight you for this. Others who will go to a next reason of that wanting to break your finger if they see you moving your finger. That's a next extreme. That's unacceptable and way beyond what is acceptable. But we said the general line concerning ilmiya is that we have those views that are there regarding the hadith, regarding moving and not to move the finger. The other message regarding this particular hadith that we mentioned regarding the hal of the asaba, the person either the hands are like that or it is they mentioned that. So these two will be like this. These two are like this in a circular. This one and then this one like this. The thumb over this one. Or other mentions not they're thus. They're not per se thus there. So the person hand will be like this. And the salat will be like this one way, or these ones like a circle. So these are different positions regarding how the hand is positioned in the salat. And as mentioned by some of the shura, Sheikh Abdullah Fawzan, that regarding this particular hadith regarding tashahhud and the hand being put, this is only for when the person comes off into for the last tashahhud. And also all the person have to make about the tashahhud that it is to be done in. The point that he raised regarding that in between the two sajda is not to be done. In between the sajda, the person sit in like a sitting position, it is not to be done. But it's done in the tashahhud, but not to be done in the position, the sitting position in between.
Yeah, because you see some people they do it.
So the in between, the position in between is not to be done.
What do they use as the evidence for?
There's a hadith that they use that they try to authenticate. A while back I checked it out, but I know there's a hadith that they try to use, but the hadith is it's not authentic, but for some reason, but they try to use as their delil, but there's something they try to use, but it is not authentic. But that could be, but a general thing, and they mention concern that, so that's concerning of that particular, are those matters that relate to that particular point.
Is there anything on the Hanafi, because they raise it at one point and then they put it back down? Is there anything mentioned on?
They mentioned that Tanbih, the author here, he mentioned Tanbih, بعض أهل العلم أو بعض أهل العلم إلى تخصيص رفع السبابة عند التشهد يعني عند قوله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. So he mentions a caution, as something to be mindful of, that some of the ulama, and I think he meant the Ahnaf and others, that with the belief the concern, the person only raised the other finger like that all the way throughout, but time of the shahs, they say of la ilaha illallah, they put up the finger and they put it back down. Then there's no mention هذا قول لا دليل عليه. This position, there is no proof for it, but the view that is taken by some of the people of ilm, that a person when he says ashhadu an la ilaha illallah in the tashahhud, he'll raise the finger, point the finger, then put it back down. But there's no dalil for this. Now there's no dalil for this.
So the people they attribute this to the Hanafi madhab.
The author here, that's it, no? Is attributed to the Ahnaf madhab because they see people of that way inclined doing it.
Yeah, but can we take that back to Abu Hanifa? That was.
So as for the thing now, it's a part of the method of the Ahnaf, then that is to be looked into. To see, is that the view of the Abu Hanifa or the main ulama of the Ahnaf? Is that their view or not? And that required a person, they didn't per se mention in this the Ahnaf view. We mentioned some of the ulama. It is so it requires rather than unjustly attributing things to people now to verify. So sometimes it may be done by people who are said to be of a particular madhab, but is this actually from the madhab? From the imam or the main people whom their view will constitute or form a part of that madhab? The ulama that their view it is it represents the madhab of the Ahnaf. So it's going back to their reliable books to check those things out. So,
The train is 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah, the one before that was
It's gone.
8:55.
Okay, we're going on 9:31. We catch at
There's a
9:30.
big gap there. It's a big gap now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
So,
like 5-10 minutes between earlier. And after
Aye.
9:30, I think it's back to that 10-minute gap again.
so I want to go to the next hadith or leave that one.
It's up to you. We can go.
So-
Just one more thing. Is there anything that says as to how to point it? As in some people bend it and some people say you should have it straight.
So that there, either said, they go back to see the hadith said, like Ibn Khuzaymah mentioned regarding that's not about moving it. So I pointed it, the hadith mentioned, Ashar, the Asbah, that he points with his finger, he didn't make that to see is there anything that specified, either from the aqwal that said regarding how it is to be done. Then that now becomes the question. So either the person accepts the hadith as it is, just point your finger in your normal way. You with me? That's it, that's done. You said normal. Now you said no, naturally for you. Now, so however way it is pointed for you, then that is pointed. Pointing the finger. To say that to be pointed up like this way, so the person have the finger up. Now, as ishara, where you mentioned yashir, so it's having the finger up, as it have to be this way, this way, bended. Then each person, according to, because some of these things sometimes for each sahaba could be that after your finger is, some people's finger may be crooked as it is when it is pointed, but you think that he's doing it intentionally, but that's just his finger how it is.
But there's no evidence to specify.
So to specify means go back to the tabiat of the individual. What is natural for the person regarding how his finger is just pointed. With
But
me?
then, the discussion could be, I see some man doing this. Who points like that?
That's what I'm saying. If a person do it in a fixed way, other than the way which is he just points his finger, they need it to be pointed a particular way, then that requires specific evidence. You know what I'm saying? Unless that person's finger it is somewhat, when it is pointed, a bit crooked. You with me? But if it's being done in a particular way, a set way of pointing the finger, then that requires additional evidence. Just as I said, if the person moving it, those who ought to move it, if they move it this way or that way fast, or just moving it,
So,
you understand, or circular, or whatever way, then those things require additional what? Evidence. Because you do it in a particular way. So if you move in a circular way, why move in a circular way?
I don't remember because it was a while ago that I read
People do that, yeah.
Sifat an-Nabi, but
So either go back to what but whatever, either there's a specific evidence, then okay, then, but that require in whatever way it is done, a specific dalil, whether circular or very fast or whatever, then those who move it, then they have to bring something. I would say that no, for moving it, that itself is under question. Another, the discussion is strong about not moving it. The discussion about not moving it is very strong.
it's much more stronger back in the street.
From what I have seen, that's what I have seen, and that doesn't, you understand?
is there any information about pointing towards a qibla? Is that included?
Into the finger natural curve, so the thing, everything regarding the point of the body, and that will be towards the qibla.
Yeah.
You understand? So naturally be pointed to the qibla. So I'm saying the person who's pointed upright. Why?
Because I believe in Sheikh Al-Albani book he mentioned this.
It naturally go in the way of the qibla.
Yeah.
Naturally, it will go in the way of the qibla, pointing the finger. Nam. So it says, no, those things will just naturally comes. Is the thing where the person are moving it right to left, sideways, or you said circular, or the person moving it. You understand?
There's a video online, I think someone said Sheikh Albani showed him how to move the finger, and
Huh?
it was really slight movements. It wasn't moving huge movements,
Just
just
a tip.
slight movements. Yeah.
One, that's what I'm saying, even those matters, Sheikh, one of his students, I mentioned before, concerning that, he did it, but all said that's based upon the view that it is something to be done. Years ago, I remember, Farakan that went to Sheikh Adam Ethiopia in his lesson, and he was doing this masala. And the thing because I was listening to wear glasses, but he says, no, from his shuyukh, how they taught him how to do it. So meaning that his way of doing it have an isnad. Is coming from men who have taught him how to move it. That's the one that I'll hold to, if I was to do it. The one that can bring it from, you understand, it has an isnad going to how to move it. Compared to, you understand, I will more move it that way, I will be more inclined towards that way than any other way. If I moved it. But I could have, you understand, we said no, it's maybe not to go back to Sheikh Albani book regarding Kabir, you understand, regarding the movement and see as to other narrations that are there.
Is there nothing on like the Sahabas or the
And so I said,
on what they did?
like Ibn Khuzaymah who came like, well, that anything regarding, going back to the Prophet Islam regarding moving the fingers, it have no place. It's all daif, all weak. So you have those type of statements regarding, and anything regarding moving the finger, or then saying to move it or not to move it specifically, they said all those narrations are weak. But the narration about pointing it, yes, but to move it, or that stipulate specifically saying not to move it, they're all weak. Amongst them, Ibn Khuzaymah. And his title was Imamul A'imma fi asrihi. They said any hadith, use the chance to say, any hadith that you believe that contrary to another hadith, bring it to me and I'll show you how to unify them. That was his thing. He would come out with those statements. Now, but ala kulli hal, they said no, it's just a fiqh, but I said, and of the things they mentioned, is of the sunnah act of the salah, to move the finger. If of the sunnah, to point to the sunnah, to move it, for those who say move it is also a sunnah. Clear? So that's concerned that particular masala. So that somebody.
So would that be the case? Something has to be done in this area.
Not that something is done.
You know when you say it's a sunnah,
means it's not wajib. It's of the sunnah concerned. Some which is if the person do it, then that's something more rewarded because you're doing things according to the sunnah as the Prophet Islam prayed. Your phone is an example. Now, but if it is not done, because it's not of the compulsory acts or components of the salat, if it is not done, then your salat is not invalid. But I will look at it's not invalid, or you don't need to make sujood sahu for it. You with me? So your salat is still intact, but maybe to a lesser degree regarding the person who points it to the person who doesn't point it. But both salat is valid. But the hadith, some hadith that kind of somewhat as the way of how Islam sat, that it mentioned, and the hadith authentic in the Sahih Muslim that mentioned that he would point. Now, so that becomes a part of the sunnah act of the salat, one of the acts of the salat.
No, my point was something has to be done, either if it's this,
something has to be done. Something has to be done.
Because you can't just sit through the tashahhud and don't do nothing.
But what is done is based upon what we have been told. Yes, something to be done, but based upon what we have been told.
This is a madness when people get to that.
You understand? So the thing is, what we are told to do. The thing now is, what are we told to do in that position? That's now the question. There's something mentioned about what to be done, but the thing is, what is it? What is it that we're supposed to be doing? That now go back to the Prophet as regarding what he instructed or what he did. Now, and I mentioned that a companion mentioned that they mentioned something which is they observed what he was doing. Now, so something they saw, so things that they normally see that he does. Now, he didn't per se instruct them and told them, point your finger out. With me? So it usul al-fiqh that will take a different ruling. That something is observed by others. Then it says sometimes that may indicate an act that is something which is sunnah, not wajib. But when he instructs you to do something, then he can take on a different ruling of being of a more higher degree. It's called a command. But compared to when I saw him doing something and you report it. You understand? So all those things come into play. So I said, as a general thing, we said now these matters that are discussed, now that they can go to different level of depth. Now, something can be thrown as giving you what the teacher or what that book also be the qawl rajih. But and a level of teaching, then that is acceptable. To some degree of teaching, that is acceptable. Now, but if that person himself have, you understand, but he's aware of the difference. But I've chosen to give the Qawl Rajih, the more correct view, based upon his conclusion and what he ought to be correct, then that can be done. But we're on a level that our thing sometimes in some of these masail that we mentioned that to highlight certain things, especially when something it is maybe regarded as, with some, in our environment, certain things become a symbol of Salafiyah, a sign of your Salafiyah. With me, even matters concerning fiqh. With me, when the matter may be discussed, Sheikh Al-Albani or whoever the authors of the A'immat al-Kibar of contemporary time maybe wrote that book as just a general guide to do that act of Salat or Hajj or Umrah. With me? Or Wudu. Just give you the one is the view that he believes to be the correct view based upon the dalil that he knows that he ought to be valid. But that dalil that is being used may be one which is being discussed. But he owes it to be an authentic dalil. But he knows, he's aware that there's some discussion regarding is it authentic or not. But his conclusion that it's correct or not. So he mentioned or did mention it. But for us over here, that book that maybe is a general guide, we see that guide as the only guide.
So that's why the lay guy, you have to be very careful.
So that's our concern. So take these things as a guide, a part of the journey of our learning at the beginning stage, at the beginner stage.
MashaAllah, because that was going to bring me to my next
You with
question.
me?
Yeah.
So not me meaning at the beginning stage, you don't know everything. You do not know everything and do not oppose your views on others. Impose your views on others because you're there, the beginning stage of your journey of Talabatul Ilm, or what you have come to know. And there may be things, the more you know, the more you don't know.
Yes,
that is out there. Now, so let's take this as something you do, you can share it with others, not a problem, but not in a way you believe that to move the finger and not to move the finger, that decides your Salafiyah. Because Sheikh Al-Albani said it. And it's in his book. Or Sheikh Fulan, so on. In any matter that you discuss, that there's a discussion, that possible discussion, based upon what I know. And what you know someone else may know different. You may know one view on the matter, one take of one sheikh, but another person nowadays, two other views that are out there from other of the ulama who are equally qualified or more qualified. So anything that you do in the beginning stage, do not see it as that's the only view until you have reached a level where you can look at the matter in more depth, greater depth and research. Clear? That's the thing. Comes in now, see with the salat, it become like the, I don't want to
like the dictionary, the beginning and the end of all.
The dictionary of salat for some Westerners. And that's not the case. No book should be taken as such.
The encyclopedia of salat,
You understand? But for now it's something to work with. And as a guide to work with. But don't see it as something that this is the end of it. Because we are just at the beginning stage.
So I was going to ask, you see like with structured learning like a Jamia like Madinah. In which year would you get to be able to, based upon your own proficiency, but based upon the curricula, which year would you get to start being able to dive into this stuff? Because obviously you've got to go through the language program and get some proficiency in the language. What comes next? Once you find some proficiency in language, then you move on to the next level. Because without the language you can't really go nowhere.
Okay. Regarding concerning the path and the journey of Talabatul Ilm, whether in the form of a university, which we call it now that school system, non-structured school system, including universities, Islamic university we're talking now, including of them the Jamia Islamiyah and others, or through the system of sitting with the Mashaykh. Now, that the ulama of past and of present, that the system has always been that in there are different levels and degrees. And for every level and degree, there's books specific for those levels. With me? So some might put it into 4 levels of learning or degrees. The first level awal al-ilm. They said, you know, you're the beginning stage. So those books in fiqh, and even in even books, even in Aqidah, would be the mukhtasarat. And they may not cover everything, but they give you a general idea of the main masail, the main thing.
What's this word, mukhtasarat?
Mukhtasar is something which is a summary, summarized. Now something which is as condensed. And they say matan, so mutun, they say mutun, meaning concerning that these mutun are usually mukhtasarat. Sometimes mutun can be mutawwalat. With me? But then generally, so the beginning stage of ilm, now, is that stage where a book, for example, Ibn Qudama, for example, the book that we are studying, Bulugu Maraam. You may have, I can find easily, for Bulugu Maraam, 20 explanation, 15, easily. With me, 20 explanation of the same book, of majority of them contemporary of the ulama. Sheikh bin Baz's explanation, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen explanation is in 16 volumes. But writing are big and all that. You understand? 16 volume, a box, and it's full of a proper box by itself. Sheikh Fawzan, and you have different Fawzan. You have Saleh Fawzan, he has his own explanation. Now, you have Abdullah Fawzan, which is one of the more, is this one. It's about 10, 11 volumes. Now, you have this one, something from Yemen. You have people from Sham, you have people from all over who have explanation. You have people who are not generally within the Salafi community, but they have explanations. With me? You have Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Raji, Sheikh Saad Al-Shitri. And you're going to have more to come.
The Sheikh Shitri is the young one.
Yeah, that one that sometime bring. In so you have a San'ani from the old ones. So you have many explanation. But each of the explanation also on different levels. On different levels. Now, so that's concerning the general thing concerning the journey of studying of Islam. The person understand that it's a journey. You do not and start with something. But know when you're at your beginning stage. And that's a problem in the West for the du'at. They don't know when they're at the beginning stage. And they think they're at the end of the journey. When you just started the journey. That's why there's not to any talib, the first stage, the early stage, make sure you read books, and all the time, every year, at least once a year, you read a book concerning adab talib al-ilm. At least once a year. You read different books on that topic to keep you in check regarding how you're supposed to function as a person, as a talib, and also the things to expect and the journey. And so always a reminder to yourself how you function, how you behave with others, with your teacher, with your books. Now, this method of teaching and learning, those things give you that guidelines. Now, if you don't have them, then you're going to behave like any. You're not going to behave. You're not have shortcomings in your behavior.
Because one of the things that I find people don't take into consideration, or because it don't fit their agenda, they don't look at the people that they're going to.
And so that's a part of so the general thing comes off the goals, that you have levels of the path of journey. The university is of a, like in any university in any country, is of a highest level of learning. So in the university that you go into khilafat. You with me? So then you start to go into the differences between the ulama. And that's the purpose of the university, that level. With me? So they study concerning knowing the differences between the ulama. And going back to the sources itself. So it open your mind that in the matter that you're studying. And those things, for example, so Ibn Qudama have different books on different levels. Ghazali, Ash-Shafi have books on different levels in fiqh I'm talking. Now, beginner's level, he has Wajiz, Wasit, and they have different, in Nawawi, they have different books on different levels. So each book is targeted to that level to the level that you're at in your studies. Beginners start with this. And the beginner's level normally in books of fiqh, it comes with just the qawl of Raji, because most books of fiqh is based upon a madhab. With me? That's the situation. I mean, most of the books of fiqh are based upon a madhab. That's not a problem. It's when you have ta'assub, that's a problem. To study from a book in a madhab, with a Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali, that's never been a problem for the ulama. The problem for the ulama, instead of when you become muta'assib, you see that madhab as the haq, and the only haq is in it. And you start to discredit others. We become muta'assib and blinded to one madhab. That's the problem, not studying from a madhab. With me? So each madhab that we have established, they have their own books, and they have them in different levels. So the sheikh will study, and the students will know what's his level, and he'll study from that level. When he passed, then he goes to the next level. You understand? So when you have done that, once I pass would mean you know that book ins and out. That's when you go to the next level. So you start the beginner's level, a book that is like a mukhtasar, a brief introductory to the main masail. When you know that book, you study the book and you know it, then you can move on.
Secular education has this structure as well.
Hey, so I said, some of the ulama companies that the ulama have passed, some of their books is like the structure system we have today. Like the structure system we have today, they were already ahead in their books and works. Because they were thinking ahead, like Al-Ghazali, Ibn Qudama, and others. And others even like Al-Bulqini, in some of his works, he showed, they were thinking before their time in how they structure some of their works. Hey, time to move though, wabillahi tawfiq. And we'll say the problem though concerning a person don't know his level.